Well, join us to unpack this now. We have Toby Olatunji, the CEO of Intron, joining me there from the US. Great to have you on the show, Toby.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So talk to me now. How do you think Sahara is aligning its model with Africa's specific challenges? Like limited data infrastructure, language diversity, and especially mobile access.
Yeah, thank you. I think when we started Intron and we tried to build voice services, first for healthcare, of course, the very first problem was that there was no data to train models. Existing models worked very poorly for Africans, many people spoke with different accents. And as you can imagine, like when you use your Alexa, use your Siri, there are several things they don't understand, names of artists, names of songs, and all that. And so there was no quick way to solve that problem. So we had to go out there and try to collect data across Africa. So we had to build a platform to recruit speakers from right now over 30, 40 countries, and people contribute data to us every day. So we use that data to train models that actually understand the accents, dialects of even to the over 300 accents across Africa. So that's the way we're able to train these models, expose them to African names, to names like Chinwe, Ladi, or something like that. They now understand when you say these names, when you say African currencies like Naira, shilling, things like that, and they perform much better for African accents because of the exposure they've got into this data.
All right, so looking at Africa, most African countries, there's that push now, to produce more, at this point, to move away from exporting just raw materials to actually producing, finished goods. But it seems like we're also seeing this in technology. Africa imports a lot of, technology from what we're seeing, so far. What do you think Africa should be doing now to get to a point where we can actually be also, kind of self-sufficient, when it comes to, technology? Well, let's start like producing, technology, out of Africa and maybe coming up with the next big thing. Well, what should we be doing now?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely great question. I was having a conversation recently about the Middle East. I think their playbook is definitely a starting point for how do you take whatever you have, your oil money, and invest it back into your people, invest it back into infrastructure, tourism, electricity. I think there are some foundational pieces that would help the countries make progress and even catch up with the West, because there's just some fundamental pieces that young people need to, because there is talent, there is a lot of innovation. There are people who have the skills, who have the exposure to build great things. And so if they're given the right infrastructure, very basic things, electricity, Wi-Fi, safety, things like that, just providing the environment. Of course, capital is one big piece. If we take some of that oil money and let's say 10% of it or 20% of it and invest it into building these systems, these platforms, I'm sure that that stimulus will find those that need it and lead to even bigger companies than what we've seen today.
And in your view, from what we're seeing so far, do you think Africa can invest in its own technology advancement?
Absolutely. I mean, there's small pockets of it. You're already seeing the government has some decent initiatives. There are foundations that are doing really good work already. I think Tony Lumelu is one of them. There's multiple small pockets of investments here and there. I know there's the BOI, there's the AFDB. So there's stuff happening. It's just that the scale is still small compared with the amount of demand. There are millions of young, there are small and middle income businesses, and so if there's tools put in the hands of these people, I'm sure that we can make big things happen.
All right, looking at the economies and the business climate at this point, how are you seeing some of this technology you've come across? How are you seeing them improving the way we do business in Africa, Nigeria, and the economy at large?
Yeah, I think we have found a lot of really interesting use cases for our technology. Our core technology is voice to text, so you take voice and you can transcribe it correctly, accurately into text. I can imagine that there's at least three very valuable real life use cases that we're doing. One is healthcare. You have doctors who are struggling with documentation. They see so many patients every day, and the time it takes for them to write notes for each patient takes away from the time they have to see patients. And so if you provide them a tool that where they use their voice, just dictate their notes on the fly, hands free, then you give them time back. You reduce the amount of time patients are spending waiting, and it increases the amount of data the hospital has to make decisions. Another really great example is the courts. So you see, there's a judge, there's a witness, and there's a lot of talking. All that discussion back and forth has to be written down, and so you have a situation where it takes courts so much time to transcribe and make court transcripts available. All your cases, your judgments takes several hours to write. And so if you give these guys tools where just by while they're speaking, you're already taking that voice and transcribing it to text, you save them a lot of time. People have to wait less, and justice can be delivered much quicker.
Right, and we do need, justice delivered as quickly as possible, at this time to reduce all those backlog of cases. But thank you so much. It was great having this conversation with you, Toby Olatunji, the CEO of Intron. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you.